Hi all. So today we are going to learn everything about cost. What is cost? What is the different types of cost? How the cost varies in terms of a long run production? How it varies in terms of a short run? Everything we are going to see in detail along with the graphs so that it could be used in terms of analysis and all. Okay. So first, what is the concept of cost? How we put it like even if I am suppose doing a very big thing like building a bridge, okay, and also I can say that I'm moving one object from one place to another. So in any of the case I'm doing some work, right? So how my uh, effort is measured, it is measured in terms of some monetary cost. Okay, so in my effort is measured in terms of some monetary values, which is nothing but the cost. Okay, so here if you are paying me, that is my cost, that is your cost. If I am getting it, then that is my kind of income, which is like the cash in hand, so I can say an asset. But overall there is some movement of cash, and if you are paying me, that is a cost. And why? Based on what? Because of the measurement of the effort or the value that I kept it in terms of monetary, that is nothing but a concept of cost. So what are all things that we can do with this concept? Okay, so it helps us in strengthening the production management, because with everything going into the production management, for which operation how much is spent, and for which operation which things are not required. So all these things we can identify based on how much expenses is occurring, how much cost or how much money is spent, which is nothing but cost. Okay, so based on that we can see where we need to strengthen, which operation needs to be replaced by which other operation so as to minimize the cost. Okay, similarly, like cost of production operations and finding optimum output. So this, as we have studied, when we are seeing about the graph of average cost, marginal cost, what is the maximum level of output that can be produced so as to not get into any kind of negative value. Okay, so there we were deciding based on the concept of cost again, because we are looking at the marginal cost and the average cost to decide the output. Similarly, estimate cost of various operations. So it is so operations is nothing but a various subset of operations, right? So each operation will be associated with some level of cost. So based on that we estimate the overall cost of the operation, then decide price margins for selling, because the anything that is happening, the production, the selling, the transportation, advertisement, all in all is happening to earn some revenue in the sense, profit is nothing but revenue minus the cost. So overall the intention, the agenda is to earn profit. So if this much cost is going into the selling purpose, then this much should be my minimum revenue that I should get by selling all the products or the services, so as to get this much amount of profit. So all these decisions are again happening in terms of cost. Okay, so these are some of the points which where we are using the concept of cost for the analysis or decision making purpose. Now there are different types of cost. Now we are talking about only 14 types of cost, but there will be n number of other cost. Okay, now while explaining each of them, we can see that one cost is again repeating second time. Why? Because okay, once we understand, then we will say why the meanings are repeating in some of the cost. Okay, so first is our opportunity cost. So the best example for this is, suppose I got two jobs. Okay, first job is giving me 2 lakh, second job is giving me 1 lakh. Now I am going for choosing a first job. So here the value that I am getting is 2 lakh rupees. So my opportunity cost here will be 1 lakh. Why? Because if the opportunity cost is nothing but the second best option or the second best value. Okay, so here my second best value was 1 lakh. So it's nothing but, if I was not doing what I am doing right now, that is, if I don't choose the first job, what is the value that I could have got by putting the same amount of value or same amount of time somewhere else? That is the second best option. So that is opportunity cost. Next we have explicit cost. So here it is simply like what all things are needed for the production, like factors of production. As we have seen previously, it is land, labor, capital, and there was one more thing. So all those factors of production which are necessary. So the employer, whatever amount that goes into owning the factors of production, that is outflow of cash like rent, salary, all those things comes under explicit cost. Okay, next we have implicit cost. So here it is opposite of explicit cost. Here the cash outflow is happening, in the implicit cost outflow will not happen. Okay, and explicit cost, these are recorded in the books of account, and the implicit costs are not recorded in the books of accounts. Why? Because see, let's say I am the owner of the business, like let's say I started a small business just now, so I cannot afford to pay rent or to buy a new building. So what I am doing is I am starting my business in my own house. So here I am not going to take salary of my whatever I am eligible for, and the rent that is needs to be paid for the building, I am not considering that as well. So these kind of things are called as implicit cost, which I will not be recording in the books of accounts, but again I am going to impute those values against the explicit cost so as to estimate, okay, this much is all the expenses, this much is the expenditure, but I am not going to record that because that is something which is implicit to me. Okay, so because we are imputing it against the explicit cost for the purpose of estimation, we also call it as imputed cost. Okay, so I hope these three costs are clear, and these three are the foundation for all the upcoming cost. Next we have accounting cost. So accounting cost is a simple concept of the summation of all the explicit cost plus some of the implicit cost like depreciation. Okay, so this was nothing new to understand. This was simply the summation of implicit and opportunity, explicit. So it was a summation of all the explicit plus some of the implicit cost. Okay, now we have economist cost. So what an economist cost says is, whatever the concept we understood in terms of opportunity cost, that is the second best option in terms of any service or any good. Similarly, economist cost is nothing but the opportunity cost of the accounting cost and the opportunity cost. So what does it mean is, currently there is some operation is happening for which this will be the accounting cost and this will be the opportunity cost. If this operation was not happening, what is the other operation that could have been employed in the current production? Okay, so value of that alternate process is nothing but the opportunity cost of accounting plus opportunity, which is nothing but our economic cost. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So opportunity cost is nothing but the second best value of any kind. Okay, but coming to economic cost, here we are talking about the second best option or second best value in terms of accounting and opportunity cost. That is, if this process was not there in the production process, what is the other operation that could have been employed and what is the value of that? That will be known as the economist cost. Now business cost is a kind of self-explanatory. Okay, so all the cost that is must and should be required for running a business, okay, that is known as business cost. So you give me anything, okay, you need to pay rent. Okay, so if I don't pay rent, will my business run? If yes, then it will not come under business cost, but without paying rent I cannot run my business, so that will come under business cost. So it is categorized as variable, fixed, direct and indirect cost, all the summation. Now what is direct, indirect, variable and fixed, that we are going to see in a moment. As you can see, fixed, variable. Okay, so basically business cost is a summation of all the costs that is must and should required for the running of business. Now full cost, so it is nothing but production plus business plus opportunity plus normal cost. So here all the expenses that is happening for running the business is known as full cost. So you can see there is some similarity between the business cost and full cost. So why we have again these different costs? Okay, so here as I said earlier, there will be some meaning which is repeating. So the concept here is, there will be some scenarios of financial statements. Okay, now in some place we are going to use business cost, at some places we are going to use full cost. Okay, so that is like in different scenarios we use different terminologies, but there will be very slight negligible kind of difference between the business cost and full cost. Okay, next we have fixed cost and variable cost. So these costs, if you are able to understand, there are many graphs that we are going to see in the same video that will be easily understandable for you. Okay, now what is fixed cost? Let me take an example. Okay, so it's like for say I have a restaurant. Okay, I have a restaurant which I took at rent. Okay, now if I employ some chefs, if I get customers and if I serve them, if I earn profit, that is fine. But irrespective of whether I do anything or I don't do anything, I need to pay the rent. Correct, I need to pay the electricity bill, but electricity bill will be again based on the utilization. So something which doesn't depends on the output, okay, all that cost will come under fixed cost. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So for suppose I took a tempo on rent. okay, and petrol diesel is completely like infinite, I can use any number of times, but I need to pay the rent of tempo. So even if I use it or I don't use it, because the time is going on, I have to pay that cost. So that is nothing but a fixed cost. Coming to variable cost, if suppose in the same restaurant, if I am using it 24/7, the electricity will be generated for 24/7, will be more, right? If I use it only for 5 hours a day, the correspondingly electricity bill will also be reduced. So cost which depends on the output, that is nothing but a variable cost. I hope this makes sense. Okay, now these two things we are going to see in most of the graphs. Next we have the incremental cost. So it is similar to that of marginal cost. Okay, so if say I produce 10 units of a good every time. Okay, now this time instead of 10 I am producing 11 units. So here what is happening is the cost which is occurring for producing the 11th, not 11 but 11th product, is my incremental cost. Okay, so this incremental cost is occurring because of some process which is deviating from the normal or the regular process. Okay, so because these kind of things can be avoided, we call them as a escapable or avoidable cost. Okay, because there is some exceptional scenario came because of which I need to give one more unit. So to avoid that unexceptional scenarios or conditions, I can avoid the incremental cost. So that is nothing but escapable and avoidable cost. Now we have real. Now forgetting about everything from the very beginning, that we brought the raw materials and we contacted them for buying the raw materials. From that point of time to the point of time that we are selling that finalized product to the consumer or the next level of consumer or the end user. Okay, so in this complete process, whatever the expenses incurred, all that will come under real cost. Again, it might be kind of similar to full cost and real cost, but there will be a difference. Okay, now a real cost is nothing but all the expenses occurred from its very naive stage to the final stage. Next we have social cost. So if suppose recently we had cylinder leakage in Andhra Pradesh. So what happened? Because of that leakage, the complete society has to suffer. Correct? So all the private and external costs that the society has to suffer in the economic activity, so because of any organization. Okay, that is nothing but a social cost. So if suppose I need to build a bridge, okay, now for that I need to cut the trees in that land. So if I am cutting the trees, means some social cost is there. So here social cost is nothing but not the amount or the monetary term, but it is the suffering that the surrounding neighbors or the society has to suffer because of the organization. That is nothing but social cost. Okay, next we have replacement cost. I hope this is a very self-explanatory term. Like I have an machinery today, now I need to sell it and buy the new one, or I need to replace this machinery with something else. So the amount, okay, let's take an example. I bought a new machine at 100 rupees and I sold the current machine at the 25 rupees. So what is happening here is 100 rupees I spent and 25 rupees I got by selling. So overall 75 rupees is what extra I have paid for the replacement. So that 75 rupees is nothing but my replacement cost. Okay, next we have direct and indirect cost. So this is very much similar to variable cost, and indirect cost means fixed cost. Okay, so here I can say direct cost is nothing but which is directly related to the process of production. Indirect cost which is not related to the process of production, like maintenance of the organization, okay, paying the rent. Okay, all these things will come under the indirect cost. So I hope all these types of costs are clear. Now let's move. So we are going to use this fixed, variable and direct, indirect cost to understand the short run cost, long run cost of production. So I hope this much concept so far is clear. Okay, next we'll move on to the short run cost of production. So before understanding what is the type of cost involved in the short run, let's understand what is short run actually. So short run is when we can say that at least one of the attribute or one of the cost that is involved will remain same throughout the duration. Okay, so why we are saying only one? Okay, so when we are coming to long run, right, there will be nothing fixed, because in long run everything can be changed. But in short run, for say as I have already said, short run will be different for different organization. For some 1 day might be short run, for some 1 year might be short run. Okay, so here we are focusing on short run, saying that at least one of the cost that is involved will be fixed. Okay, so first we are going to see what abbreviation. So SRTC means short run total cost. So this is total fixed cost and this is total variable cost. So as we have already seen what is fixed cost and what is variable cost. So as you can see here, at least one input is fixed. So here our fixed cost is going to be fixed. So that is self-explanatory. Okay, so our total fixed cost is going to be remaining fixed. So as soon as our variable cost is changing with respect to the output, our SRTC is also going to change, which is nothing but our short run total cost. So if you are able to understand this equation, that is our fixed cost is remaining same and variable cost changes as per our production output, and similarly SRTC is going to change. So based on that we are going to look into this graph. Okay, so here you can see on y-axis I have cost, on the x-axis I have output, and the total fixed cost is constant throughout the output. So what you are able to say is, even if the output is 0 or even if the output is 100, irrespective of that my fixed cost is going to remain same, correct? And we are starting with our VC. Now what is VC? As you have seen here, variable cost. Okay, now initially our variable cost increases. Okay, increasing, and then after reaching certain point where marginal cost is equal to variable cost, we become stabilized. And after stabilization, if I continue to produce more and more, my variable cost is going to increase again. So here the overall, if you can see, as my output is increasing, my variable cost will also increase, correct? So as you can see, if I add variable cost plus a constant value, which is nothing but my total fixed cost, I am getting SRTC. So SRTC and VC are moving with the same proportionate, because SRTC is nothing but variable cost plus total fixed cost. I hope this is clear. Okay, so here output is starting from 0. Okay, and then it is increasing as our output the production outputs are increasing, our variable cost is also increasing. But as you can see, in between it got stabilized because we were getting more marginal cost over there. Okay, so that was about our short run total cost. And if you see short run average cost, so it is nothing but total fixed cost by quantity by total variable cost by quantity, which is nothing but total SRTC divided by quantity. Okay, so it's like all the amount spent on divided by the number of units produced. So it is nothing but the average cost is nothing but the cost per unit. Okay, after the production of the complete output. So here if you can see, where is my, yeah, so here this is my short run average cost curve. Now why it is U-shaped? Okay, so that is the only thing that we need to understand here. So if you see it carefully, initially it was declining, then it came to a certain stabilized point, then it increased. So what is the interpretation behind this? So initially when we started our production in short run, okay, our fixed cost will remain fixed. Okay, that is fine. Now keep that aside, and we can see as soon as we are producing more and more outputs, the average cost is going to decrease, because we are going to incur the same amount of transportation cost, we are going to use the same amount of machinery. So if in that case if we produce more number of outputs, the variable cost is going to be decreased, not variable, sorry, average cost is going to be decreased. Now as soon as we make use of an optimum use of the assets or the resources for which the fixed cost is meant, okay, so we optimally using everything, so in that case we are reaching this optimum quantity, that is the organization is operating at the optimum quantity. So after this distribution of fixed cost across the variable resources and the way units is done, still after that is okay, suppose this dotted line is what the capacity of the organization. So even after reaching the optimum capacity, if we still try to produce more and more units, then our fixed cost is going to increase as well. So here as per our definition, fixed cost is going to remain same. No, so how am I saying the fixed cost is going to increase? So fixed cost is going to be remaining same, but here variable cost is going to increase again. Why? Because now there will be more maintenance. Okay, because we are using the machinery or the assets or the employees more than what is expected. So here, for suppose the capacity was 1000 units per day, now I bought one more machine to produce 1100, so for that 100 my variable cost is going to be increased. So in that case, if I go trying to produce more than what is my optimum capacity, my average cost is going to be increased. So as you are able to understand the short run, the same thing we are going to accumulate, or what I can say, I'm going to sum up to get the long run. Okay, so let's get to our third thing, which is our short run marginal cost. So if you have seen the previous video where we were talking about the market structure, there we were talking about marginal cost and average cost in general. Here we are simply taking short run in specifically. So let's say I'm going to use the same graph. Okay, this is my cost and this is my quantity. Now here what happens is we are going to focus only on marginal cost and average variable cost, only these two things. So what happens, initially our average variable cost is going to decrease. Okay, now the interpretation of this decrease is what we have taken here. Okay, initially the fixed cost is going to be remain same, and as we are going to produce more and more output, our average variable cost is going to remain same. So the same thing we are going to consider here. Okay, and when this is happening, our marginal cost is also decreasing because this is initially, right? And now as soon as we are reaching to our optimal quantity of the I can say organization, our marginal cost, that is the profit that we are getting from producing each new unit, is going to increase and increase and increase. Finally we reach a common point, that is the optimum quantity. Okay, so here if I can say I have stabilized my marginal cost with my, what I can say, with the total cost. So here at this point of intersection there is no profit that I am making, but even after using this maximum capacity, the optimum capacity, if I continue to produce more and more, the marginal cost is going to be increased. And after this, if you can see, my average variable cost is below this marginal cost. So here I am going to make loss. Okay, so this is nothing but my marginal cost in the short run. Okay, so I hope the graph makes sense. So this is what I was trying to prepare. Okay, so this is how the graph is going. This is my stabilized point. Here this is was my marginal cost and this is my average variable cost. So this is profit region and this is no profit and this is loss region. I hope this is clear. Okay, so let's save this and move on to our long run cost. So if you have understood the short run, long run can be easily understood. So long run is nothing but where everything can be changed. Now we are using a small house. In the long run we are going to use a big building or separate colony itself for running our organization. So that is what we say, that here nothing is fixed and all the variables can be changed. Okay, when all the factors of production are variable for small quantities of output. Okay, now we are going to understand the remaining definition based on the graph. So I hope what is long run, that you are clear. So here in long run everything is variable, nothing is what I can say going to remain fixed, we have total fixed cost in our short run. Okay, so we are going to make use of a we are going to understand what is long run total cost, and then we are going to consider short run average cost to understand the long run average cost, and followed by that we are going to understand the long run marginal cost based on the short run marginal cost. Okay, let's move on to our graph, and with that we'll be done with our long run cost of production. So here if you can see, so this is a very simple concept. So the graph of this okay, let me write it here. Okay, only 3 statements and you will be able to interpret. Okay, so this long run production cost is nothing but S-shaped graph. Okay, so why S-shaped, we'll see. So initially, okay, now we are talking with respect to what situation. So current situation that we are talking is when suppose my organization expanded. Okay, now I am operating on a different scale, completely new, at a bigger level. Okay, so at that time initially my you can see the rate of increase of my cost is more. So this is tangent is nothing but the rate of increase of cost. So see, this is cost, right? So this is cost. So if I draw a tangent at any point of time, so this is okay, this is tangent, So all these are nothing but a rate of increase of cost. So you can see initially my rate of increase of cost is more, after that it is become stabilized, and after some time again it is increasing at a very high rate. Okay, so what is the interpretation behind this? Okay, that we are going to understand. So the interpretation is going to be remaining same as though we have it for the short run. So what is the interpretation? So let's see. So initially when we are producing, right, it was like, suppose this is our optimum quantity. Okay, and we can see that we are producing with the we are producing less quantity than compared to the optimum quantity. So all this region before this optimum quantity is like underutilization of all the resources that we have. So the overall cost that is dependent, or the cost incurred on the per unit is going to be more. So therefore the rate of cost is more. Once we are reaching to the optimum quantity, I can say the rate of cost is stabilized. Now why it is stabilized? Because I am making use of making use of all the assets and all the resources that is actually meant. Okay, so this is like I am using my organization capacity. Now if I am going above this organization capacity, so I can say that because I am operating at a quantity which is more than my organization capacity, my rate law of diminishing returns is coming into picture. That is, here the more products I am producing, which is going to give me a negative return. So because of that, my overall cost is going to increase. Okay, so that's the easy interpretation. So initially my returns was very much high because it was like I'm like underutilizing, so I'm going towards the optimum utilization. Finally I'm reaching the optimum quantity, that is the quantity that is meant for the organization to produce. So my rate of what I can say, the marginal cost that I was getting was equal to my average cost. So the profit was becoming zero. There it's like I'm getting more profit. So it's like that is the worst condition. I should stop producing more than that, because that is the maximum capacity that a factory or any organization is meant to produce. After that, because I'm producing more than what is expected, my returns is getting negative, or it is reducing. So therefore my cost is increasing. Okay, now similarly if you have seen this cost, right, this one, so SRAC for short run. So if long run is nothing but the summation of all those short duration. So when that is placed, right, like this it will be placed. So I am simply considering the minimum point or the lowest point of those and forming a graph, which is nothing but my long run average cost. Similarly, so this is like average cost, right? Similarly for marginal cost also, I am going to take the intersection point of all this, like all this kind of marginal cost of the short run, and finally I am going to consider the intersection point of this, and this kind of graph will be produced, which will be nothing but my marginal cost in the long run. So long run marginal cost. I hope this long run and short run is clear. Now let's move on to our final. So we have seen economics of scale many times, but based on this we are going to understand the diseconomics and the economics of scope. So what is economics of scale? So it is a simple statement that if you produce more, the average cost is going to reduce. So because of that, your marginal cost, or I can say the revenue that you are making, will be more. So the more profit you will make if you produce more units. Okay, now if my rate of return is more because of some internal factors, or because of the increase of output because of internal factors, I can say that it is internal economics of scale. So see, economics of scale is nothing but increasing the number of units or the output that you are producing so as to generate more revenue. So if that is happening because of internal factors, right, that is called internal economics of scale. So so what are the internal factors? It refers to the reduction of cost, or the increase in the production efficiency basically. So if my economics of scale is happening because of these internal factors, it is nothing but internal economics of scale. Similarly, if the economics of scale, that is I am able to produce more, I am getting more revenue out of the output that I am producing is because of external factors. Okay, then it is called external economics of scale. That is economics in the production that firm. Okay, so if suppose my organization is working in in a specific niche of the market, and because of some upgradation in the technology, there is a good fame coming for that market, and because of that good fame for the market, my organization is getting profited. Okay, so here it is like overall industry is getting affected positively. So those kind of external factors are known as external economics of scale. Now diseconomics, so here I can simply say disadvantage arise due to expansion of firms. So here I am producing more or expanding so that I am getting profit, but if I am getting loss or negatively affected because of expansion, that is called diseconomics of scale. So here again, if it happens because of internal factor, that is called internal diseconomics. If it is happening because of external factors, then it is called external diseconomics. So let's see this. If disadvantage that arise due to increase in competition, so here what is happening, the factor is within the market, not within the organization. So here because of the competition, I need to increase, I need to spend more, and it is negatively affecting me. So that is why I am calling it as a diseconomics of scale. Okay, of scale, you have to keep this in specific. Next we have the disadvantage or the negatively affect on the expansion purpose because of internal factors. So the internal factors are managerial inefficiency and labor inefficiency. So let's see, understand this in detail. So managerial efficiency means when suppose, okay, here economics of scale, it clearly says that you are expanding. Okay, so when you are expanding, you are going to face too many challenges. Okay, and too many challenges includes like facing or handling the new challenges, hiring, recruiting, all the operations that you have performed so far is going to increase its scale. Now because if you don't have that much experience, you are going to delegate it to someone who works below you, and people working below you don't have much experience in these kind of challenges. So it will be like more cost will be spent. Okay, so because it may result in low output at high cost. So that is because of managerial inefficiency. So I hope that makes sense. Next we have labor inefficiency. So in labor efficiency, we consider that expansion is not happening in terms of organization or building. Here expansion is happening in terms of labor, and within the same organization, within the same resources, same area, if you are increasing your labor, what happens, more crowds, a little space, and conflicts and all will happen. So because of this labor efficiency, again your organization is getting negatively affected. So that economics of scale which is affected due to the internal factors, we call them as internal diseconomics. So here the scale, we are talking entirely about scale. So means how much number of units that you are producing as a output. So that is nothing but a scale. Okay, now coming to economics of scope. So economics of scope means when, okay, so if you can correlate this with economics of scale, which says that if you produce more number of output, the average cost will be reduced and the profit that you are getting will be more. Similarly, in economics of scope, what it says is instead of focusing on increasing the number of output of one product, which is the economics of scale, focus on producing the production of multiple products. Okay, so here decrease in average total cost happens because of the production of varieties of goods and services. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so here we are getting positively affected because not because we are generating any particular quantity in a particular product in a high quantity, but because we are producing multiple goods at some quantity. It might be low or it might be high, but because we are producing multiple goods, that is nothing but scope. Okay, so how it is helping us, like I'm using some say I'm digging at one place and I got a resource, and with that resource I can produce product A as well as product B. So if I focus on product A, I can use that resource only for product A, but if I use that for multiple products, the same resource utilization is happening. So that is nothing but sharing of resources happening. And if suppose there is a market failure for one of the resource, the other product can help me in sustaining in the market. So even if suppose there is some hardware failure or some software failure because of which one product is getting affected, there will be other product which could help the organization to sustain. Okay, so in that way we have flexibility, we have sharing of resources. Coming to mergers and acquisition, so if organization is producing product 1 and product 2, so there is a demand for product 2 with some other company as a raw material, as a part of their process. So the product 2 is helping the organization to increase their portfolio by merging with some other organization. So that's how multiple products not only helps in sustaining the organization but also increasing its portfolio. So that was all about our economics of school. Now coming to our final concept of revenue. So irrespective of what you did so far, irrespective of everything, okay, in the process of having the product that you have manufactured to be utilized by the next level of consumer or the end user, okay, by selling all the products or services, the amount that you get in return is called as concept of revenue. Okay, forget about how much you spend on it. Okay, the amount that you get after selling your goods or providing your services, the amount that you get, that is called revenue. Now what is total revenue? So suppose I am producing 10 quantity 10 units, and each of the price of the selling price of each of them is 5 rupees. So 10 into 5, that is 50 rupees is what I got by selling all the products, all the services. Okay, so that is my total revenue. Now 50 rupees is the revenue, and the number of units that I manufactured was 5. Okay, so my average revenue is nothing but my total revenue 50 divided by number of units, that is 5 units. So 50 by 5 is nothing but 10 is my average revenue. Now what is marginal revenue? So marginal revenue, marginal cost, anything that says marginal means it talks about the revenue in the last product. Okay, so on the 9th product I got like I sold 9 products and the overall revenue that I got was 45 rupees. Okay, now after selling the 10th good, my total revenue is 50 rupees. So the marginal revenue is the revenue that I got by selling the 10th product, that is the last product. So which is nothing but 50 minus 45, that is the last product minus its previous product. So that is 10th product minus 9th product. So 50 minus 45 is 5 is my marginal revenue. Now if you now you I hope you understand what is marginal revenue. So we are going to understand what is the relation between the total revenue and marginal revenue. So here our complete focus is on 0. Okay, let me give you the statement. Let me give you 3 statements. Okay, so if marginal revenue, now marginal revenue is nothing but the revenue that I generated from selling one more unit, or I can say the last unit. If the marginal revenue is greater than 0, means that it is positive. So in that case what I can say is total revenue is getting increased, correct, because I got some positive amount as a marginal revenue. Okay, now if marginal revenue is 0, what is happening? There is no effect on total revenue. That means you are not getting profited or you are not getting loss by selling that last unit or the next unit. Similarly, if I consider the case where MR is 0 less than 0, that is MR is negative, means what you can say is if you sell this last unit or if you sell one more unit, the marginal revenue is negative. That means your total revenue is going to decrease, because total revenue is nothing but the summation of marginal revenues. So if marginal revenue is negative, your total revenue is going to be decreased. So that's how we can say total revenue and marginal revenue are dependent on each other. Marginal revenue is less than average revenue, marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So let's consider this relation between the average and marginal revenue. So marginal revenue is less than average revenue. If you remember this graph, let me show you this. Okay, so if you can see on the right hand column, okay, this graph and this graph, okay, in both of them you can see the marginal revenue lies below the average revenue. Okay, so what is happening here? So you can see average revenue and marginal revenue, the curve of both, the slope of both is downwards, and marginal revenue is lying below the average revenue. So here what's happening is, in the imperfect competition, whether it is a short run or long run, in the imperfect competition where you are the only person who is selling goods or services, because I am the monopoly, okay, so I am the only one who is going to sell this product. So to clear my stock or to sell more products, what I can do is I can reduce the price, so which will lead into my less marginal revenue, and which will indirectly affect the average revenue. So here, because to sell one more product or more number of products, I am basically reducing my the cost of my product. So that is called as marginal revenue. So here you can see that marginal revenue is less than the average revenue in imperfect competition. Okay, next we talk about marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So again we'll go to that graph. Okay, so here you can see my marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So what's happening here? So first of all, this is a perfect competition. So here there will be too many organization or firms in a particular market. So the market price is going to be remain fixed, because there is if I decide price, if it is lower than the market price, people will buy from me, but I will be in loss. If I keep more price than the market price, then people will buy from someone else, then again I will lose my customer base. So I have to follow the revenue or the market price. Here the only thing that I can change is the quantity. So therefore, in the perfect competition market, I can say that I have to follow the market price. That's why my average revenue is going to remain same as that of a marginal revenue. Only thing I need to focus on there is to gain more profit. What is the quantity or the output or the number of units that I can generate? Okay, so therefore we can say that marginal revenue is equal to average revenue in the perfect competition, because there each and every organization is like a price taker. But in the imperfect competition, where marginal revenue is less than average revenue, there the organization or the monopolist person is nothing but a price giver. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you are having any kind of queries in terms of uh, price giver or price taker, you can watch out the previous videos in which we have discussed these terminologies in details, which is a market structure. Okay, so in today's session, if you have any queries with respect to the types of cost or its categories or in the graphs, please write down in the comment section. Okay, and if you like my explanation, please subscribe and share and click on notification bell. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you.